If you stick with me until the end of this video, you will walk away with one of the biggest cheat codes to manifestation, identity shifting, and real power. And I do not say that lightly. We talk endlessly over on this side of the internet about self-concept, beliefs, affirmations, and even energy alignment. All of that is great stuff, but almost nobody is teaching you the real mechanism that runs your entire life to even make those other things properly stick. Your emotional regulation. Your emotions are either keeping you trapped in the same cycle, replaying the old timelines over and over again, or they are the key that anchors you into the version of yourself that you want to be, the timeline that you want to jump into. And until you do not master emotional regulation, nothing else is going to land. So here's the truth about your emotions. Every single experience you have had has probably had an emotional charge to it. This is one of the keys that changed the game for me. I actually did like a little voice note to myself while I was driving years ago because I unlocked this key. And that is every single experience had some kind of imprint on your nervous system depending on the emotional charge of the experience. Let me explain further. The stronger the emotional charge, the stronger the nervous system imprint. So when we look at rewiring our beliefs and changing our self-concept, the easier parts to reprogram and rewire are the ones that had the least amount of emotional charge. This is when we can strictly or mostly just do mindset work and not really have to go into the body. It's just a quick mindset shift and all of a sudden we're just operating differently and everything's smooth and kosher in our life. But the bigger the charge emotionally, the stronger the imprint on the nervous system. So mindset work alone is not going to shift anything. In fact, it's only like 20% of the pie. 80% is going to be body work. This is because it has left such a deep imprint on you because of how emotionally charged it got you, whether that's good, whether that's bad, whether those are the emotions you wanted to experience or the emotions that you didn't want to experience. So the nervous system has trapped those emotions. It's created an imprint around that experience. Therefore, it is going to be way harder and a lot more difficult for you to detach. Contrast is a natural part of life. You have to experience the bad to appreciate the good. You have to know what the bad is so that you know that you don't want it and you actually know what you do want. But if you are not emotionally regulating the emotions that come with the contrasting experience, you are going to be chasing your tail and you are going to get stuck in that experience. Unregulated emotions are like energetic glue. They do not dissolve on their own. They get stored in your body, and that unprocessed emotion is getting translated into chronic pain, chronic disease, chronic illness. And more than that, those emotions are binding you to people, to places, to situations, to memories long after the event is technically over. That's why a lot of people can still be in love with someone that mistreated them. It's not because you're weak, it's because your nervous system is literally addicted to that emotional imprint. And because the emotional charge was so high, there's this addiction and there's this intensity and a deep sense of familiarity, I cannot say that word, around that person, around that emotional charge. And this is a whole other story. And that's why we tend to subconsciously replay those emotional charges because that's just what we're trying to feel. And that, my friend, is also why your manifestations keep slipping through your fingers. You attract something aligned, but you are regulated to the old version of you. So you sabotage it or it simply doesn't stick. Now, here's a thing that I want you to understand as well about the nervous system. I did a video on Instagram. Actually, I think I posted it to my shorts. Go watch that if you want a little bit of a bigger explanation. But basically, I was talking about you have two identities. You have a primary identity and you have a secondary identity. Your primary identity is just your baseline self. So think about when you were born and who you grew into unconsciously. It's just the version of you that you are unconsciously. Okay, if you did no healing work, if you did nothing on yourself, that is just who you are. Okay, so that's your primary identity. What happens is your nervous system is your best friend. It wants to make you safe. That is its number one goal in life, is to protect and serve. Okay, it is like your own police force inside your body. It is going to put all of these fail safes, I like to call them, safeguards in place so that you do not veer away from that primary identity. It has already regulated to that primary identity. It knows what's safe and it knows what's familiar. It is not going to let you put yourself in situations that go against what it's regulated to. Now, what happens is obviously we're not listening to our nervous system. We are consciously perhaps on a healing journey and we're now starting to really unwind and uncover all of these limiting beliefs that we might have. Let's just take money, for example. Our primary identity's belief is money is scarce, there's not enough to go around, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. That is your primary identity's belief around money. Now, what happens when you're on your healing journey, you start to think differently. You're starting to uncover these limiting beliefs and you say, huh, okay, I've come across Vikita Trivedi's videos and she's telling me money is abundant, there's more than enough to go around. So you start now trying to implement that belief, right? You're consciously implementing a new belief. Your nervous system is going to sound an alarm. It is going to say, no, we have not discussed this and we don't agree agree with this. So we are not going to let that happen. It's foreign territory, and that belief just simply doesn't align with what we have thought our whole life. And it also doesn't feel safe or familiar to think that thought. What happens is now the nervous system is going to push out self-sabotaging loops. These could be loops like you start something and then you stop it. It could be a start and stop loop. It could be you just get burnt out after putting work in and then you see results and then you just fall off the face of the earth again and you're exhausted. It could be whatever that loop is. Whatever your self-sabotaging loop is, that is what's now going to be pushed out from the nervous system for you to think, therefore act on. So now what happens from those self-sabotaging loops, you get a secondary identity. This secondary identity is going to say, what's the point of even starting? Because I never finish things. It's built off of that self-sabotaging loop from the initial primary identity. So now you're not even going to try to be anyone different because you know you've tried before and you failed. So why even try? The nervous system is waving a flag and saying, woohoo, we did it. She's not even going to try and be somebody different because she believes that it's not even going to work. So now we've convinced her that she never finishes anything. So she's not even going to try to be somebody different. This is when we have to be so conscious about what is happening. Those self-sabotaging loops were built off of your primary identity trying to keep you safe. Your secondary identity is built off of those self-sabotaging loops where now you believe that is just who I am, so why even try to be somebody different? We have to come in and intercept that because the emotions that come with those thoughts and with those behaviors are so emotionally charged, they're so strong, and they're very imprinted in our body. We have to be very, very diligent about approaching them in a very neutral way, not identifying with the emotion. We now have to regulate our body, our emotional body, to the version of us that we want to be, to the timeline that we want to jump into. Because the truth is, what nobody is telling you, your body is not following your Q vision board. It's following the state that you are embodied in most of the time. So if you're in a fear state, that is what you are going to be calling in. That's a timeline you're in. You're in a fear timeline. If your emotional state is dominantly in joy and happiness and gratitude, that is what we are going to be calling in. It doesn't matter if you have a negative thought here and there. It doesn't matter if you have a bad day or a bad couple of days and you're just low to the flow and you need some time alone. Doesn't matter. What emotional charge are you dominantly sitting in? One of the reasons I care so much about this topic is because back in the day, Vikita had no handle on her emotions. I was not an emotionally regulated person. I was the person on the spectrum, all or nothing. I thought being strong meant powering through the emotions or completely suppressing them. There was a season in my life back in 2020 when everything was shifting in my life at once. I had just graduated university. I then became bedridden with an illness that no doctor could diagnose. During that bedridden time, I lost all my friends. I had no money because I couldn't work. And I was living with my parents again after 5 years of being at university all on my own. Oh, and COVID happened. So it was a lot. And to top it all off, I had just began my spiritual awakening after my best friend from high school passed away. The things going on inside of me, I can't even begin to explain. I felt so unstable and so chaotic. And I was constantly every single day spiraling between self-doubt, anxiety, stress, sadness, depression. And at the time, I didn't have access to the support I really, really needed. But around 2023 is when I finally started therapy, actually through BetterHelp, today's partner. And in doing so, I realized very, very early on that I could have started healing if I had found it earlier. Because here's the truth, you don't need somebody to just vent to. You need somebody to help you actually process the emotions without judgment and really help you connect the dots and actually give you tools that you can use in real time. And that's exactly what my therapist did for me. And the reason why I recommend BetterHelp is because they make it so easy and accessible to start therapy. You just fill out a quick questionnaire, you get matched with a therapist as soon as possible, and if the first one isn't right for you, you can just switch at any time for no extra cost. They have thousands of therapists, so you're not just stuck hoping for a match. It's therapy that is adaptable to you. It's online, and best of all, it's flexible to your schedule. And with over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, it is a platform you can trust. So if you're in a big life change or you're just over and done with pushing your way through your emotions on your own, go to betterhelp.com/Vikita, or you can click the link in my description box to get 10% off your first month. What did I say at the beginning? Learning to regulate your emotions will be the biggest game changer in your life. So now let's get a little bit more diagnostic about this. When I say, what are you feeling? I'm not talking about you feel happy, okay? I'm talking about the visceral reaction your body gives you when you hear somebody's name? What is your body feeling when you see somebody post an Instagram story that you used to be involved with? What are you feeling when you're checking your bank account? What are you feeling viscerally in your body when you go and tap your card and spend money? What do you feel when you replay old memories, perhaps of betrayal or abandonment? What is your body signaling to you? Is your chest tightening? Are your palms getting sweaty? Do you feel a heaviness on your chest? Does your stomach just drop? Start paying attention to what your body is signaling to you when you do certain things, when you do certain actions. You can consciously be thinking that you're abundant and you have all the money in the world, but when you check your bank account, if your stomach sinks, or if you just avoid checking your bank account at all times, or if you perpetually are checking it, like you're obsessed with checking it and holding on and seeing like how much money has gone out, that is all a sign that you are still emotionally anchored to your last self, the previous self, the self that you're ready to ditch and let her go. But it's a clear signal that you're not in a new chapter. Consciously, mentally you might be, but your body still has not met you there. So that is where the real work comes in. Anytime you react viscerally or respond to an ex's behavior, a rejection email, or a failed launch, you're broadcasting a signal. You're emitting a certain type of energy and frequency in your field, which is still casting this sort of energy of, this is still relevant. Let's keep replaying this thing. Okay, let's hit it one more time. Let's keep repeating it. What I want you to understand with me saying all of this, it's not to say you don't have to be falsely positive. We do not believe in false positivity over here. We don't have to be putting a smile on for everything, even though inside we're like, oh my God, there's an ache there. No, that is not being kind to ourselves. That is not being curious in our body and what is going on with us. And you don't need to forgive everybody that hurt you and go sending like, beautifully handwritten cards to people that hurt us and say, hey, by the way, I forgive you. What you do need to do, your most important to-do list, okay, is to regulate the emotion that comes up when it comes up. You have to be able to think about things. You have to be able to experience things that are in contrast, that are maybe not so favorable, and we don't really want to experience it. But in those moments, you have to be able to say, that happened, this is happening, but it's no longer emotionally relevant to who I am today and who I want to be. That is detachment. And we're going to go into it a little bit more, but detachment is literally not about being cold or vengeful or spiteful. It is about deciding which emotions in your body get to have airtime, okay? Which ones are we allowing on screen? Detachment is a skill not many people have because they're on a spectrum of all or nothing. I'm either cold and heartless or I'm gushing and obsessed all of the time. We need to be in the middle. We need to find a balance. We're going to be soft, but we're also going to be detached. That means when you get triggered, you're not spiraling. You're not obsessively taking action on anything and everything that you feel and anything and everything that you're thinking. We sit with it. You can feel disappointment, but your worth is not attached to that rejection. You can remember the past, you can sit and you can think about it, but you're not living there. You're not emotionally charged to the point where it's giving you a visceral reaction in your body as if that past event is happening now in real time. Now, of course, I'm going to give you a plug and play protocol to get this into your life once and for all. It is the emotional regulation method. Step 1, locate the pattern. Become aware of the pattern that is playing out. What emotion keeps recycling in your life? Abandonment, rejection, shame, guilt. Track it. Until you do not identify the loop, you cannot break it. Number 2, label the charge. Where in your body is it playing out? Okay, for some people, like for me, I'm always getting a big rock in my stomach. Like I feel so sick when I'm anxious. When something happens, like emotionally charging me, my stomach drops and I feel viscerally sick. Like I sometimes even throw up because of how sick I get. My heart, chest area gets very warm. It doesn't get tight, but it sort of just starts beating like as if it's gonna pop out of my chest. So label the charge, where is it, and locate it physically. Emotions are not intellectual problems. You have to find it physically. They are stored physically in your body. Step number 3 is to separate the story from the signal. I have a couple of nervous system regulation videos on my channel. I'll link them here or wherever in the description, but watch those. But I share some tools that you can do in the moment to reduce the charge, because what happens is your body might be feeling like it's unsafe in the moment, but it's not actually an unsafe moment. So you have to sort of bring that coherence back by training your body in the moment of the threat, the perceived threat, to regulate it down. So that's how you stop reinforcing the past, when you regulate in real time. Not just regulate when you're all distressed and disheveled, but regulating consistently every single day, but also when you are in the charge rather than just pushing through. One of my biggest issues has been, and I'm still learning to this day, is to not just push through the uncomfortable emotions, actually regulate in real time. This is what I like to call graded exposure. So if you're like me, where I have noticed this pattern, actually, I think I just clocked this pattern like a week ago, where I have been just pushing through really uncomfortable emotions instead of regulating in real time. I did it once last week when I was super emotionally charged. And what do you know? It significantly significantly changed how I'm approaching perceived threats and those physical reactions that I was telling you about where I like actually feel sick when I'm feeling anxious. Those have completely lessened. And I know you're probably thinking, 1 week? Really, Makita? Trust me when I say regulating your nervous system happens pretty quickly if you're consistently doing it. And step number 4 is to just have a little bit of a redirect your energy, and just tap into and anchor into the version of you that you want to be. So what would she be thinking? What would she be feeling? How would she be operating in this moment? What do you want to regulate into? What is your next level self's nervous system regulated to? Calmness, worthiness, devotion. Close your eyes and just sort of live in that future version of yourself and redirect that emotional charge from the current you who is experiencing something you don't want to experience and into the version of you that is experiencing everything that she wants. Your emotions are not just problems to fix, they are portals to reprogram. I had this download that I want to share because it is quite profound if I do say so myself. Okay, so if we're understanding that emotions are portals, either to the old timeline or to the new timeline, when we're jumping into a new timeline, when we know consciously this is what I want to experience and you're just done, you're over the old timeline, what happens is you cannot get to that new timeline by still being emotionally attached to the old timeline. What do I mean by that? The old timeline is made up of certain people, certain places, certain things, situations, experiences, whatever. That is the old timeline. The new timeline will also be made up of new people, new places, new environments, new situations, new memories. But in order to get to this new place, we have to completely let this old one go. That means the people inside this timeline, the places inside this timeline, the things, whatever, all of the things inside this old timeline, we have to let go of. And that doesn't mean that we're just cutting everybody off and like literally moving to a completely new country and starting over as if we never existed over here. That's not what I mean. When I mean you have to let go of everything, including people, places, things in this old timeline, I mean the emotional attachment to them. Okay, so the easiest example is always love. If in this old timeline you had a guy and he didn't treat you great, right? Like the dynamic in the relationship was not good and you guys are no longer together, and you want to experience a completely different kind of love, maybe with this old guy, but just in a completely different dynamic, in a different way. You want him to show up differently, or altogether you just want a new man. Okay, you want to throw this one away and you want a new one in the new timeline. You have to let go completely emotionally of the old version of him, the old dynamic, the old template of love. So in this timeline, that guy, that ex, he's the lesser version of what you want, right? Like you don't want that version of him. You can't bring this old version of him into a new timeline. They're two completely different states of being. In this timeline, he's a garbage man. In this timeline, he could be a very amazing, devoted, committed individual, but they're both different realities, both have a different energetic makeup and frequency, and both are going to cause a different emotional experience within you. So start generating emotional attachments to the things that you actually want. You don't need more affirmations, you don't need more vision boards, and you don't need more habits. You don't need to do anything more. You just need to regulate your emotions. You need to upgrade your emotional imprints to the things that you want. Those are the real portals, and future self is beaking from the corner, begging you to get this right so you can finally merge with her. If you want to really learn how to regulate your nervous system, watch this video next.